May it please the court, my name is Caleb Hogan.
Please the court. I'm Judith Hogan and I represent the respondent Patterson Medical Services. The state Supreme Court held that the pregnant girl did not have to notify her parents, and rightly so, because this court held in R0E v. Wade that she has a fundamental right which the state cannot burden with such a requirement.
The burden on the pregnant girl is so light, and the parental interest is so compelling. All we're asking the court to do is to simply allow the state to require her to notify her parents.
You're asking us to weigh the young lady's right to an abortion against her parents' right to know about it?
Yeah, well, yeah, in a sense.
You're conceding that R0E v. Wade is good law. The young lady's right to an abortion was absolute because the fetus wasn't viable.
Your Honor, not only was he viable, but he's in fact alive. And you can't just kill a baby.
A senior biologist with 30 years of experience testified that the fetus wasn't viable.
He said nothing about the viability of the fetus in the womb. That is the issue. They tear the baby out of its only means of life support and say, wow, look at that, our machines can't sustain its life. And somehow that proves it's not viable? You know, Your Honor, that their own reasoning assumes that the child is alive in the mother. The very question of viability assumes that he's alive. Now, can we keep him alive?
The fetus is not alive, according to biology and ethics.
The question of when life begins is not a legal question. It's not even a scientific question.
Surely biology can answer that, otherwise what's it good for?
Biology tells us what things do. It doesn't tell us what things are.
A biologist certainly can testify whether the fetus is a human life.
It's not a biological question. He's no more of an expert on the question of when life begins than I am.
Okay, that's the science issue, but what about the legal? Why isn't that a matter for the courts?
Federal judges can never resolve this. All they can do is decide based on their own moral preferences, and that is no legal standard. That's fiat. It's raw power.
It is determined by legal standards that balance the rights of the pregnant girl against the rights of her parents to know if she wants an abortion. That is a legal question.
It avoids the real issue. Is that thing inside the woman's body alive? And if it is, we cannot simply go in there and kill it.
In this case, the state passed a law defining viability and the rights of the parents and the rights of the child seeking an abortion.
So which laws will govern? The ones made by the people or the ones made by the judges?
When the people of a state pass a law by the political process defining life and its value, then judges must interpret that law.
Interpret the law, sure. But replace the people's definition of life with his own, that's quite different. The courts never should have gone this route, and now that they have, they need to recognize it as a terrible mistake.
Overturn R0E v. Wade and just let the states deal with it themselves?
The grounds for overruling R0E v. Wade are found in R0E itself. In the majority opinion, you joined, Your Honor.
R0E quoted extensively from an American Medical Association report. The third reason of the frightful extent of this crime, they're speaking of abortion, counsel, is found in the grave
effects of our laws, both common and statute, as regards the independent and actual existence of the child before birth as a living being.
It's not a baby, Your Honor. It is a fetus.
Look up the date.
Your Honor, I'm not sure how this relates to the scientific proof of the young lady in this case.
That report was issued in 1859.
The 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868. The scientific consensus at that time
was that an unborn child was a person, and killing him was a crime. His protection is already enshrined in the 14th Amendment. If you change that, you need to add another amendment. Judges were never meant to have this kind of policy-making authority.
The federal courts were deliberately insulated from political influence so they wouldn't fear political repercussions. The opposition forgets this.
Respectfully, Your Honor, but it is the courts that have forgotten their function, which is to decide law and not to make policy. And I must say, it is a threat to our democracy, it is a threat to our freedoms, and it is a threat to the stability of our nation when judges make decisions without any fear of the people. The Declaration of Independence, recognized at least 40 times as a legally binding document by this court, tells us that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these is life.
You